Hello and welcome back to the No Dig Norfolk Gardener. Now, I do hope you've had a really good week. Myself and Mrs. W have actually been away on holiday. Had a week's holiday up in Lincolnshire, and we went away with the eldest daughter and her partner and our lovely granddaughter Maggie. And we had a really super week. It's been really good. But what we thought we'd do as soon as we got back here is just show you the state of play actually in our no dig garden, because there's really not been a lot going on here. We've been away, and so unlike Ken, who has his trainees, we don't really have that. Well, we have a YTS boy in the name of our younger son Adam. He has been doing a little bit of watering for us, but he's not so good with the weeds and things when it comes to looking after the garden wholly. But we do thank him for looking after things. He certainly looks after Poppy. She's really glad to see us back, aren't you, girl? Yes, you are, aren't you, hey? You are. And so are the two cats that we have. So, yeah, I'd like to put out there on video. Thanks, Adam, my boy, for looking after our animals for us. What has been happening? Well, probably remember a couple of videos back that we planted some sprouts, and they've taken really well. It's been absolutely no problem. They're well on their way. And then you did see a pea harvest that we took. We have the remaining peas on here. There's another good harvest to come. By the way, one of the things I didn't mention when on that video was when we actually weighed them, we actually got 10 pounds of peas in that sort of what we call the main harvest. We've been picking at them while they've been becoming ready. In all honesty, Mrs. W can't help herself. But the main harvest produced 10 pounds, and from what I can see left on here, it's roughly about the same harvest, but we'll weigh those again and let you know exactly the final total that we actually got to get indoors and into our freezer. Now, if we swing round to my left, these are our first early potatoes, a variety called Casablanca. You can see they're starting to fall over now and go yellow. That's a natural thing. It's not blight, and that means that they're ready to sort of come up. But I'm quite happy for them to stay there, and we'll harvest them as and when we want them. And then we come to things like weeds. Now, I often get a lot of comments saying your garden looks really good, you don't seem to have an awful lot of weeds. Now, let me put that out there on record that just because you're no dig, it won't mean you won't get weeds. You will. But what myself and Mrs. W do, we keep on top of them. So we get less weeds with no dig because there is a layer of compost on top of each of our veg beds. So that means there are less weeds come up than if you were during the traditional digging of your plot. But we do still get weeds. And Mrs. W just puts the camera down here. You can see, look, mainly they come around the edges. And because we haven't been here for a week, normally as I'm going through, I'd normally pick that out into the bucket. Pick that out into the bucket. And it's like a 5-minute job. They come out really easy when you're no dig. There's the root. It doesn't take very long at all. But it is a case of keeping on top of them, and as soon as you're away from any length of time, of course, weeds do germinate, they grow, and away they go because you're not there to keep pulling them. And from what I understand, while we've been away, we've had a mixture of rain and sunshine, so although that's really great for our vegetables, it's also really, really great for the weeds. They love it too. Now, one of the things I am really pleased about as we walk a little further up the garden is that if you look, the tagetes are all out, the marigolds, they're all out. It's just lovely to see. And it's gone a bit breezier now. When we got back about an hour or so ago, there were lots of bees and all busy around the flowers and helping our vegetables to pollinate where pollination is needed. Now you can see over here, this is where our main crop potatoes have been growing. They are actually starting to fall over. So they're not going to be too long before we shall be harvesting them, and probably sometime toward the end of the month, beginning of August, they'll be out of that ground and into the sacks. However, one of the more urgent jobs that we do need to do, if you look, is this is our second earlies, Charlotte. They really are dying back, and that's telling us that they are ready to come out of the ground, which is really good because then I can use that ground to plant something else once they're up. And one of the themes of this month during July is that a lot of our videos will be all around the subject of harvesting, because although we began in June and we started to get some lovely harvests, which is amazing, July is even more abundant. And as we go through July, August and into September and indeed into October, it becomes all about harvesting. That becomes the most predominant thing that we're doing in the garden, because over the last 6 to 8 weeks you've been watching our videos and you'll have been seeing we've been sowing our seeds to replace these plants that will come out. We actually have plenty of plants to fill these gaps as they come about. And as we do harvest each particular vegetable and they come out of the ground, we shall be filming it so you can see exactly the sort of harvest that we're getting. And hopefully you are getting too. As you know, we built this tunnel and our ambition was to grow the beans, the runner beans and the French beans up and over, and also our squashes. And the squashes are now starting to take hold. In fact, I can see there's a curry that's coming on there, so we probably need to release that from the potatoes and actually get those tendrils to hook onto here. So you can see they are starting to grow vertically, and hopefully over the next few weeks, as we get this tied in a bit more to this, you'll see the actual fruits hanging down as they grow over this tunnel. What has been a really raging success are the beans. You can see this is the runner beans that we're looking at here. They are twiddling themselves around the wire. There's already some flowers starting to come. And if you remember, I did say that we tended to plant our beans out just that little bit later, because this time of year, towards the end of June, July, is normally when we take our summer holidays, because we do like to go away with the grandchildren. They're the most fun ever. And so we don't really want these producing beans while we're away. So that's why they tend to go in the beginning of June, and away they go. And while we have been away, you can see that some courgettes are starting to form. And this is a new variety to us called Black Beauty, so it's not going to be long before we'll be harvesting some of those. And then James, up there in Scotland, something I wanted to show you. I did say to you in the comments box that we put these cauliflowers in. They went in about 6 weeks ago. That's all it was, about 6 weeks ago. They were obviously sown before those, so if you add the sowing time to it and how long they took to come through, they've been in about 10 weeks. But you can see the cauliflowers are actually starting to come. It's a variety called Snow Crown. And yeah, they're not going to be the biggest, but we don't always look to grow the biggest cauliflowers because predominantly there is only myself and Mrs. W here, so these are just a lovely size. I'm sure they can be grown bigger if you give them a bit more spacing. We've put these in pretty tight, but if you give them a bit more space, then I'm pretty sure that you'll get much bigger heads and bigger florets. And I know you were saying to me in the comments that you were trying to get a cauliflower that was going to be ready for the shows that start in July up there in Scotland, so that could be one. And as I say, if you give it a bit more room, I'm pretty sure the more room you give these plants, the bigger their heads become. Also in this bed, you remember that it wasn't that long ago, what was it, 2 or 3 videos back, we actually popped in these kohlrabi, and you can see they're now actually starting to swell. So hopefully it's not going to be too long before we'll be able to harvest those, and I'll be able to see exactly what they have tasted like. And I do thank you for all your comments. Always, we do love to get your comments, and different comments have told us what these kohlrabi are like. Some people rather like them, some people are not so keen on them, but overall we get a good broad perspective of what we can expect, and from what I can see at the moment, they're coming on just nicely. And also in this bed over towards the back here, this is where our follow-on Calabrese went in marathon, and they're actually now starting to produce their heads. So like I say, there is lots and lots to harvest. And then my magnificent lion over there, he's starting to get surrounded by his marigolds. Here we are in the greenhouse, and of course the greenhouse is probably one of the first places that really suffer when you go away for any period of time. And although we've only been away a week, you can see there's lots of side shooting to do on these tomatoes. Doesn't take very long, so let's have you out, son. And that's a job that, you know, we need to begin doing. However, what I really am excited about is that we have aubergines. And they're now starting to get to the size now where we can harvest them. So a lot of people do actually ask when they're ready to harvest. Well, that's pretty firm. Hello, Poppy. You don't like aubergines. You just like the thought of them. Good girl. So once they sort of start to get to that size and you can feel that they're pretty solid now, you don't want to get rock hard, but by the same token you don't want them spongy either. So let's harvest one. There we are, a money maker aubergine. And as you can see around here, we have lots that are on their way and coming. So if you look after your plants, whether it be the aubergines or the tomatoes or the cucumbers in the way that we've explained over the last few videos that we've produced, then it will produce lovely harvests for you. Side shooting is really important. If you keep on top of that, they will produce lovely fruit for you. And I would like a cucumber this evening as well. Indeed, since we've been away, these have swelled up, and we've actually got 1 or 2 cucumbers that are now ready to harvest. Now, if you remember, I said to you that this is a variety called Pachysandra. And unlike traditional cucumbers as they were grown, this doesn't produce any male flowers. It only produces female flowers. It's not a really long cucumber, but myself and Mrs. W don't really want a really long cucumber because it'll just lay in the fridge. So when we pick them sort of that size, it's absolutely lovely. And if we do want more, well, there's 3 or 4 more on there for us to pick. And that is a lovely cucumber, and that is the variety Pachysandra. It takes all the hassle away of taking the male flowers away so that the fruits aren't bitter. Just a really lovely cucumber and a good size for us. Here you join us in the polytunnel, and that's looking just as abundant. I can see here that where we've been pinching out them, you can see that we've now got some peppers that are starting to form. So that's really great. Won't be too long before we see some peppers. And yeah, looking really good. Obviously being undercover, the flowers come out that much sooner, but it really is lovely. It's keeping all of those, or helping to keep all of the pests that invade your polytunnel and greenhouse away, and helps protect them. Now, I'm sure that you can see on the camera that there's a little bit of leaf curling. That's not a problem. What that plant is trying to tell us is that I haven't been watered enough, or I need watering now. So as we put water into that, that will start to cure itself and they'll start to look a little bit better. But it is one of the things you find as and when you go away and you can't be here to water and do your normal watering regime, that these are the sort of things that happen. But these plants will soon recover. With a good watering, they will soon recover. You may remember in the last video that we released, we sowed some seeds that we hope to produce plants that will help to feed us over the autumn and winter period, and indeed into next year. Now, we've been away exactly a week. They were sowed a week ago. I know you only saw it probably, I can't think when I released it now, probably on the Wednesday when I scheduled it, and you've seen it. But they were sown precisely 1 week ago. And one of the things that I did do, because I knew that we were going to be away, and when we weren't going to be here to be able to ventilate the polytunnel, and we knew that the white cabbage butterfly was about, in fact we've seen plenty flying about today, we covered these with netting so that they were protected. And that's exactly what we have done. And you can see that these have all germinated. That's the Calabrese, cauliflower Ellesmere, purple sprouting broccoli. That was the claret. This is the purple sprouting broccoli Rudolph. But as you can see, they've all germinated and germinated really, really well. So we'll get those potted on over this coming weekend, and it won't be too long before they can go out into the ground. And also, a couple of 3 videos back, we were showing you where we harvested our Calabrese, and there's now an empty row there now. These plants are now ready to go in. And again, we shall be planting those out into the garden over the next couple of 3 days. Here we are up in bed 5, and this is the onion bed. As you know, we have taken our harvest of Jamour shallots, but these ones now, the Griselle, they're now ready for their harvest. You can see they've gone right over. They're ready for their harvest, and also it will allow us to get in there and just do the bit of weeding that we need to do. The onions are doing really well. All of them are starting to swell now. You know, it's gone past midsummer. That's when they do their thing, to swell up. And I would hazard a guess that sometime toward the end of this month, they're going to be ready for their harvest. Now, if your onions are at the same stage as ours, what I would say is don't water them anymore. Don't give them any more water. Just the water that falls out of the sky, if it falls out, fine, there's not a lot you can do about that. But if you give them too much water now that they're starting to swell up, they'll get a soft neck, and then that will give you a problem when you want to come to store these onions, to see you over the next 6 to 8 months as you're storing them. And then lastly, you can see the garlic is starting to go over, and that's now ready for its harvest, so we're going to be harvesting that over this coming weekend. But probably the very first job that myself and Mrs. W need to do is to harvest the soft fruits. That now is very, very, very urgent. They are ready, they are swelled to the right size, they're all sweet in the case of the gooseberries, and we really do need to get on with that harvest. Let me show you what I mean. We do have a lot of gooseberries to harvest. We do like our gooseberries here. But equally, you can see that we have lots of raspberries. We did begin picking some before we went away. Or should I say my grandson did, because he absolutely loves the raspberries. So does our granddaughter too. He just happened to be here as they started to come ready. So it's now become really quite urgent that we harvest the soft fruit. And if we just go back just a little, you can see the black currants. Some lovely black currants there, and we have 3 bushes of those to harvest. And also, see that the red currants are really starting to go red. Sweet corn is doing really, really well. That's on its way up, it's growing really nicely here. And this curry squash is also doing really well. That's winding its way through. It's got plenty of flowers coming on it, so I expect to get a good harvest from that. But one of the things that I've got to say, one of the most glorious things that we've come back to, is that we have our first sunflower. There she be. And they always bring a bit of radiance into your life, remind you of the sunshine up in the sky. And a little bit later, come September time, when it's formed all its seeds, that's going to help feed all the birds as we go into that autumn and winter period. How lovely is that? Now, I do hope you've enjoyed this video. If I haven't replied to your comment as soon as I would normally reply to it, I do apologise, but it is because we have been away on our holidays. Normal service has resumed as from today. And like I say, if you like what we do and you want to follow along with us, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Please give us a thumbs up. And we shall see you on the next video.